Machine. That damned tool of the demon. It is a damned connection to the other world. But there is nothing to worry about if you know how to use it. If you look when you open it, the capsule, the mix-up, and the heed this. I've lost, I think. He will keep on. machine. That damned tool of the demon. It is a damned connection to the other world. But there is nothing to worry about if you know how to use it. If you look carefully, you will notice a cover on the front side of the machine, right under the window. When you open it, you will see a locking mechanism that protects the most important part of the machine, the carrier capsule and the mixer parts. The capsule is the part for the remnants of the one you are seeking to summon from beyond. Put what you have inside it. The mixer part must be blended with some other things precisely. And the code of this particular machine is 51637. If you are trying to summon a long-lost one, it might take longer to get any response. Heed me carefully now. Whatever happens, you must not directly look at the window of the machine after you've summoned something. This could be fatal. Not everyone can withstand what is seen in that window, for at times you would be looking right into hell itself. I've lost 2 of my assistants because of this. I still can hear the screams of the most useful one in my head, and see his bloodshot eyes when I close my own. I think he will keep on haunting me until I join him.
Can you read this, Henry?
Let me take a look. Yes, this is in German. It says, "Go, don't ever come back, go to the gate."
Gate?
Sounds very familiar to me. I once had a customer who came here every week to pick up some books he'd ordered. He was not very talkative and often looked lost in his own thoughts, but I remember he often called the place he lives the Gate. Later I learned that he lived in that cursed mansion that stands alone, far off in the wilderness.
Do you know his name?
I don't really remember. He stopped coming here a long time ago. He was an old man. He could have passed away.
What can you tell me about him?
As I said, he often looked very deep in thought. When I went down to the cellar to get his order, I could often hear him talking to himself. He was old, but I always thought he was younger than he looked. I never saw him around except the times he came for his orders. Jacob could probably tell you more about him. His father worked there as a servant. Jacob lives in the old White House right in front of the Howling Wolf statue. You can't miss it.
What kind of books did he usually order?
Most of them were about magic, astrology, occultism, and demonology. And I remember those books were very hard to get. Sometimes it took weeks to find a particular one. Some of them were written in languages I'd never even seen before.
Why did you call that mansion cursed?
Just out of habit, really. Around here, everybody calls it that because of their primitive superstitions. I don't actually believe them myself.
Thanks for the info, Henry.
You can speak freely now.
Hello, my name is Howard. I'm here because Henry Lawrence told me you could help me with a special matter.
What matter is that?
Do you recognize the name The Gate?
I had a feeling you were going to ask that. Your voice, your eyes, those burning, bright eyes. You look exactly like him.
Who?
Him! He told me about you once. How you would come back one day. This is your destiny. You cannot go against it.
I think you're confusing me with someone else. I don't understand what you're talking about. Who is he?
Mr. Nathaniel. He was the one who called you beyond time. He learned that if he appealed to Yog-Sothoth, someone from his own bloodline would one day come back. I was only a child, but I remember everything. I remember what they did under that damn place. I can see him in your eyes. And there was that other child. He was not human. He looked exactly like one, and they treated him like one. But I could tell he wasn't human at all. No human child can speak with the knowledge of the darkest abysses like him. None can speak about the heathen arcane knowledge of the darkest ages, which are veiled from the eyes of simple men like us. If only you heard him, then you would understand me. But yet, all that is also in you. You will soon remember. Everything will come back to you. Every memory. Silently, I listened to his muffled voice as he screamed, growled, jumped and crashed around at night under the ground.
He is completely mad, but I must get some answers. Can you tell me about the gate?
It is the building nestled over the black abyss. You should have remembered it by now. But it seems it is still not clear for you. You will remember soon.
What do you mean Mr. Nathaniel called me beyond time?
They needed a blood descendant, but only such a person can do what they require. Mr. Nathaniel, he could speak with his ancestors. Or maybe the opposite was true. They told him to call you, and so he did. He somehow learned strange languages he never even knew existed. And with this knowledge, he read forbidden books gathered from around the world. Passages about summoning beyond time. Those fiendish necromantic murmurings and chants.
How did this Mr. Nathaniel learn such an appeal?
He learned it from Jediah, a shadow from his own lineage, from your lineage.
What do you mean by Black Abyss?
That place is built upon a web of underground passages that lead to Gehenna. That's why they call it the Gate. It is the gate to the unlit hell beneath the surface that hides unimaginable secrets from our eyes.
What child?
The child Mr. Nathaniel was told to take in. He took him into his home, despite strong opposition from Mrs. Ingrid, his wife. During the early days, the child often suffered serious seizures, and they had to lock him up after he murdered a maid. It was horrible. That was the time Mr. Nathaniel fired all the maids and servants except my father, since he'd been with him for a long time and knew many secrets. Then, they gave the boy something to make him calm. It seemed like he forgot what he knew. And after that, he grew up in that house like a normal child. Until one day, when he left the house to go elsewhere. I don't know where he went, but I was told he would come back when the right time came. I know he is also here. I can feel him.
How can you know this much about me?
Mr. Nathaniel told me some things, but I learned most of what I know from eavesdropping and secretly reading the same things he read. Only the ones in English, of course. He had some friends who shared the same interests as him. When they gathered, and the incense was heavy in the air, it was easy to listen in on their excited conversations. They often talked about you, and some others who are like you. And there were other things that I wouldn't have understood unless I'd read some of the books. His wife, that poor woman, hated his friends and the topics they spoke about in those heathen meetings. Once, she tried to escape, but he brought her back and locked her up in her room. She died there. But he was not like that originally. The only mistake he made was moving into that house of his ancestors after he married. But maybe it was a fate he could not fight against.
Who is this Jedediah?
I don't know. I only know his name, and that he was from Nathaniel's bloodline. I once read in one of the books that even if you kill the physical body of some people, it doesn't mean they're really dead and will disappear from this world. They can find a way to come back, and then silently wait for their time to come.
Who told him to take the child in?
I don't know. It was so sudden. One particularly stormy night, a stranger came with that child. He was a tall and dangerous-looking man. All the servants were frightened of him at first sight. Yet he himself seemed afraid of the child. I listened to their conversation and learned that he could hardly speak our language. So he spoke with Mr. Nathaniel in a language that only he seemed to know. Only 2 days later did we really discover why he came. He'd brought the child from a distant place for Mr. Nathaniel to raise, and he accepted the boy in without hesitation. But he never explained why he agreed to do it.
Why did Mrs. Ingrid want to escape?
I'm not sure, but I think she saw something terrible. She knew a lot about the things her husband was interested in doing. But after the child incident, she started to hate him, though she stayed by his side. After a while, the situation began to change and got more serious. And that's when the secret meetings began. She hated it all, both the meetings and those who attended them. And one day, it seemed she couldn't take it anymore and ran away. But Mr. Nathaniel's friends forced him to take her back and lock her up. They saw Mrs. Ingrid as a threat who might reveal secrets about them. He had to do as they instructed, but he wasn't happy about it.
He seems completely mad. But somehow, I get the feeling his words weren't just crazed ramblings or the wild imagination of a madman.